There's not enough room on this show for the both of us.
God, is he cute. Rack him.
Break them. Wait!
What?
We have to introduce the show.
Hi, I'm Mark Boylan.
And I'm Andy Cusimano, and welcome to this month's edition of Iron Pulse.
Our first story was shot last semester. It's a day in the life of Alice Chandler, done by Nathaniel. So let's go to him right now.
As a follow-up from my interview with Dr. Alice Chandler in December, we decided to do a feature on the day in the life of a college president. So on Friday, November 22nd, 1991, I followed Alice Chandler throughout her day, and it was indeed a very hectic schedule. Her day began with a meeting with James Grant, Vice President for Administrative Affairs, at 8:30 a.m.
Jim, you went up to SUNY Central earlier this week to talk about new buildings and building renovations. What's the good word?
Well, Dr. Vass and I went up on Tuesday to meet with Irv Freeman, the Vice Chancellor, for Office of Facilities and the construction manager. And what we had discussed with him was the Benford Learning Center. As a result of the fire that we had there, we were promised some funds to renovate that building. And we have agreed to set up a meeting, which we have already done, for next Wednesday to meet with some people on the campus as well as his staff to go into more detail of the type of programs that we are planning for that facility, and we will upgrade that facility in the very near future.
This meeting ended at approximately 9:10. At 9:15, she met with Carl Bacon, Director of Institutional Research.
You asked me to coordinate the questionnaire for the Regents 1992 statewide plan for higher education.
Yeah, for which we had, what, 27 days to
27
prepare?
days. Well, the reason that they gave a short return time is because they have augmented the questionnaire with their own questionnaire.
Who, SUNY?
SUNY has.
Ah, oh, okay.
Okay, so it's really, they're asking for a response from all the campuses, and anytime you get an aggregate response, anything we say is going to be diluted. Particularly since it's in a questionnaire format. So I think, with the two exceptions, and I'll cover those in a minute, we are really being asked to be part of a response of like 60 campuses. And so take it for what it's worth.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me we should not devote our entire institutional energies to producing this document.
No, I don't think so.
At 9:30, the President met with her cabinet for the weekly discussions of issues concerning the college. The cabinet consists of
I'm William Bass, the Vice President for Academic Affairs.
Barbara Snyder, Vice President for Student Affairs.
Kelly Clark, Acting Special Assistant to the President for Multicultural Programs and Affirmative Action Coordinator.
I'm Ken Berta, Vice President for Institutional Advancement.
Carl Bacon, Director of Institutional Research.
Bob Seaman, Dean of Admissions.
Gail Gallery, Executive Assistant to the President.
Jim Grant, Vice President for Administration.
And Alice Chandler, I'm the President, in case anybody hadn't noticed.
At 12 o'clock, the President and college staff members met with Charles Rader from the New York State Department of Economic Development regarding interactive communications and facility. At 2 o'clock, Dr. Chandler met with the development group, which consists of the academic deans, 2 vice presidents, and other college officials. At 3 o'clock p.m., Dr. Chandler met with Dean Smith and Carlos Medina from the State Education Department regarding evaluation of the STEP program. At 5:20, the President left the administration building and headed over to the lecture center for a meeting with the Academic Senate, which is a committee of students, faculty, and administration which sets the guidelines for academic affairs. After the Senate meeting, the President headed for home after spending a nice and peaceful day at the office.
Thanks, Nathaniel.
2 out of 3?
Uh-uh.
Our next story is on the latest feelings on the PCB incident from those who were directly affected.
And let's go to Josh Parker with that right now.
Now that the spring semester is half over, most of the students and staff affected by the PCB incident have adjusted to their new living arrangements.
I'm in a suite. I've never been in a suite before. It's interesting. I didn't think I'd like it, but I do a lot. You don't have to walk halfway down the hall to go to the bathroom anymore. You just have to go to your room.
While most residents of Scudder will be getting their belongings back, those who lived in Bliss probably won't.
I was told a few days before the announcement was made that there would be some winners and some losers, so to speak. And at that time, I was just, I would have been happy if half the building got their stuff back, you know, if anyone at that point had gotten their stuff back. But I'm just really excited that everyone pretty much will be getting everything back.
The contamination levels, I knew ahead of time that they were worse in Bliss, so it wasn't a surprise to me when Scudder got the stuff back. And I also didn't get any false hope raised for getting my stuff back. I guess I just really was ready to hear that. For me, it was no grand, revelation. Residents are upset, understandably. They're sitting next to someone that's going to get it all back, and there's all these people infected. Now we're down to just one small community, and it's hard to look around and know that somebody else is getting everything back, and you probably won't get anything.
Most Scudder residents were happy to hear the news that they could reclaim their belongings, but some were skeptical.
The reaction was a sense of overwhelming, happiness. A lot of people were happy about it, and a lot of people cried, and they were really glad to get their stuff back. But there are a handful of people, I'd say a dozen or so, who questioned a lot, didn't trust the school, were very suspicious of getting their belongings back because they didn't think they were safe and that the school was looking for an out, for a quick way to get things dumped off. And one woman I heard from the back comment, well, what if you don't want your stuff back? And David Eaton said, well, that's your choice. Some people didn't understand why the school told us why we weren't getting our stuff back when they didn't really know. And David Eaton gave the answer that the reason the school told us what they did at the very beginning was because that's all the information they had to go on, and they had to tell the students something because they were coming back to college. Now, if you have a few thousand kids coming back with families and parents with them, they want to know what's going on. So the school had to provide them the best answer that they could with the information that they were given.
To help the residents who were moved into apartments off campus, some RAs became CAs, or community advisors.
When you're on duty, you don't have to do rounds because obviously you're in your apartment and you don't go around the building. It's different because there's no bulletin boards to put up or mail to do or regular everyday things that RAs usually do. Just basically you're in your apartment. We still checked everybody in. We had all the keys and things like that, and checkouts. That's pretty much the only similarity.
A lot of people are just sick of talking about the whole situation.
I'd just like to put it to rest. I'd like to get it over with.
It happened. Let's deal with it. Let's go on. I'm just sick of it. I feel bad for the Bliss people. I understand, and everything, but I'm just really tired of it.
If I hear PCB one more time, I just want to spit.
And there are those who just want their things back, no matter what.
I have my parents' wedding pictures in my room, and I would really like to get them photocopied or get them back. I want my stuff. I don't care if it makes me glow green in the dark. I don't really care. It's just that there's some stuff that I would like back. I don't care if I look like a glowworm.
Well, hopefully the PCB incident will get all straightened out.
Well, the performing arts students are coping with the closing of Parker Theater.
Lynne Nelson explains.
The students in the theater department at SUNY New Paltz must pass an orange fence every day, reminding them of the loss they took when Parker Theater was closed. They lost space for rehearsal, production, and classes. Parker Theater was usually the building to find theater majors hard at work in the costume shop. Luckily, a few sewing machines were out for repairs when the accident occurred. Also, many frequently used props and scenery are now stuck behind these contaminated doors.
We asked Mrs. Betty McKenna of the theater department how she thinks that the department is coping after the PCB incident.
As far as the PCB incident that you asked about, it's another little stumbling block for the Department of Theater Arts, and we're used to that. We're used to problems. We're used to handling the emergencies as they come up, and if anything, I think it makes a stronger department, faculty, student body as a result. The department is doing very well. I think it's stronger than it was when I first became acquainted with it in 1970. Actually, it was 68. It was speech and theater when I first started. But we've gone on, managed to deal with less space by increasing the quality of the work we do in the spaces that are left. Also by utilizing the old main auditorium and spaces in the old main building, which, by the way, is where I started my college career. When I started in 1964, everything just about was in Old Main because everybody needs the rehearsal space. They've even used the lobby for rehearsals for dance sequences. And it's hard for me to work when I hear that tapping going on out there. I have to get up and peek. It's very interesting, and the main thing is that, you know, if anything, it's made the department stronger. We've had to pull together and go on.
Despite the loss of costumes, props, and space, the rehearsal for Once Upon a Mattress is going full blast in McKenna.
We asked Jen Gazzo, a theater student, what changes she has noticed.
Yeah, well, we're more crowded, for one thing. You know, everybody's walking around like on top of each other. But I also think that it instills a kind of, almost a sense of adventure in the department, in that, you know, we don't have all the props that we normally have, all the costumes. So you're kind of like, you're more resourceful. And that's really what theater is all about, just doing theater from what you can get around you. So, in a way, it might turn out to be a good thing, rather than a totally negative thing.
The theater department doesn't seem to be hindered by the closing of Parker Theater. Some classes were just moved to Old Main Building. Midnight theaters, play readings, and workshops are still going on. So it seems that it's not all glum because of the temporary loss of Parker Theater. The theater department at New Paltz is learning together to put the age-old saying back into life.
The show must go on.
And I and New Paltz will continue.
Right after these messages. Two out of three.
Deal.
Three out of five? Sorry. For our next story, here's Jennifer with some problems living off campus.
Many students at SUNY New Paltz might say that Southside and University Garden apartments are definitely the places to live. The cost to live in one of these apartment complexes is extremely high. A two-bedroom apartment is over $1,000 a month. At these rates, one must wonder if students are being taken advantage of simply because they are students and management knows that they'll pay anything to live there. Well, the Eye on New Paltz staff has decided to take a closer look into the issue. Ted Snyder voices his discontent with the high price of living in the apartments.
For three of us to live in a small two-bedroom, we pay $4,000, which is like $1,300 and something a piece, and I think that definitely is too high, considering that students who live in the dorms are paying around $1,000, and I think that Southside is running kind of a monopoly thing that, you know, we're the only apartments, so we can charge what we want.
Steve, a former resident of Southside, also informed us of his grievances, but wished to have his identity concealed.
Because for the security deposit, I wasn't given a, they give out a notice saying, like, what to look for when you clean out your apartment, and, you know, there's like a checklist, and I was not given that, so I just went to the place on my own, and I asked what the deal is with checking out, and they just assigned me a time without giving me the checklist. So when they got there, they you know, they wrote down, they said this isn't, like, the oven wasn't clean, and but the fact is when I moved in it wasn't clean, and the bathtub had a stain around it. There was a ring, which was when I moved in it was there, and I cleaned it and it wouldn't come off, and that was supposed to be on the original checklist, and yet when I moved out I found that I was charged for that, as well as for the walls being dirty when they weren't, and they took off around $80 from my security deposit.
It seems to be very easy to break into an apartment, as told by 3 different residents.
We did not know until after we got robbed that our front door can get broken into just in 2 seconds with a credit card. Just flash it through the crack in the door and it's open. We've done it before.
I think the security is what upsets me the most. Right before I left for Christmas break, my roommate said, "Ted, why don't you take a look at this?" And he went outside the door, took a credit card, and in 2 seconds he had opened our door and gotten in while it was locked. So, I mean, I don't understand how you can charge people that kind of money and you don't even have security on the doors. I hear about a lot of people how they get their places broken into, and why don't you have good security? It's not that tough, I don't think, to make a door that works. I know the dorms, the doors on their rooms, they have no problem basically with people breaking in as long as it's locked. So I don't know why we can't have the same thing.
We then decided to test just how easy it is. There is a major laundry problem at Southside, for there is only 2 small laundry rooms for close to 400 residents.
There's 3 dryers and 3 washers, and until like recently, there only two of each would work. So there's usually one of them was broken down, and it's very scummy, and it's not worth it. I'll either go to the dorms. The dorms are cheaper, for one thing, to do laundry, but I never use the facilities down here.
There are now 6 new washers and 6 new dryers. However, the price for the dryers is $1.25 a load. Residents still continue to go to the dorms or other laundry facilities to wash and dry their clothes. Finding a parking spot and the threat of being towed is yet another problem residents are plagued with.
Parking problems. There aren't enough parking. They don't paint the spots. So as they say that they could fit more spots in by not painting the lines, but the problem is that people don't park properly. So what you have is, when there's parties, you have other people parking in your spots that don't live here, and you come home late at night, and there's no place to put your car, and you're paying rent here, and so you park illegally, and what happens is you get a ticket, or in some cases they tow your car.
Okay, it's a towing zone, but not all the cars get towed when they're there. I had my car parked there one night, and I did not see a sign, did not see the fire hydrant. The fire hydrant is
it's underneath the grass, like under the ground.
Well, here's the street,
Yeah.
and then there's a sidewalk with a wall that's elevated.
You can't see
and
it.
the fire hydrant is in the dirt, in the wall. It's like a flower bed, and it's way down in the dirt. You can't really see it at night, and there was no sign at the time that I parked my car
And
there.
there still isn't. There's still no sign.
I didn't get it towed, but I got a $30 fine for parking.
With all of these endless problems, such as laundry, parking, security, and the high cost of living at the apartments, one wonders why students still choose to live here. Stay tuned for part 2 of this investigative report next month.
Well, that's something to think about.
Definitely.
Hey, a 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. After these messages, we'll be right back. Hey, Andy, do you know where the Vas deferens is?
Isn't that near Vienna?
No, actually, it's a little bit closer to home. But why don't we ask some New Paltz geniuses their opinions about that?
Here's Ghia with that story.
Does 4 years of college really pay off? This was the burning question that our investigative reporters at WNPC wanted to ask students. Here we are at the Sojourner Truth Library, the hub of the intellect at New Paltz, and we're going to try and get a couple of students to ask just a few trivia questions. What does NATO stand for?
North Atlantic. Yeah, I don't know. North
NATO.
Atlantic something? NATO.
Tourist operation.
North Atlantic Treaty Organization. National Alliance of Television Officers.
How many continents are there, and can you name them?
Yeah, hold on.
South America. Antarctica, Africa, Asia, Europe, North America, South America. How many is that?
That's 6.
All right, so I have one more.
Okay, I'll let you think about it.
Asia, Europe, South America, North America, Central America.
Oh my God.
Just an IQ test.
Depends on how you look at it.
Where are the vas deferens?
Where are those?
That's in your brain somewhere?
Is that in your throat?
In the penis.
It's only in the male private part.
What's that?
Yeah, we're Swedish.
We're from Sweden.
We're from Sweden.
Oh, you guys are too much with that question.
Can you tell me who David Duke is?
Some crazy fascist man from down south.
Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah.
He is a senator from Alabama, and he's ran for governor but lost. Now he's running for president.
David Duke is a human being.
Oh my God. Forget about these questions.
So for those of you who don't know the answer to those trivia questions, NATO stands for North Atlantic Treaty Organization. There are 7 continents: North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Australia, Antarctica, and Africa. And the vas deferens are part of the male reproductive system. They're tubes that transfer semen in the penis, and they're the tubes that are cut when you have a vasectomy. David Duke is a politician that's been said that he's been in the KKK and he's been running for president. So there you have it, the geniuses of New Paltz. What do you think? Do you think the educational system is doing its job? Find out in our next edition of Eye on New Paltz.
Well, now we know that New Paltz is the genius capital of the world.
Yes, and on that note, thank you once again for joining us for another edition of Eye on New Paltz. I'm Mark Boylan.
And I'm Andy Cusumano.
And we'll see you next month. Okay, here I go.
Go.
This is it.
All right.
Ready? Ready? Here we go. Here we go. Okay.